Alright class, in this video we're going to discuss triple quotes, dir, and we're going to beat print up a lot. And we're going to also talk about some escape sequences. And once again, I have my script on the left side and the shell on the right. We're going to be going back and forth. So, prior video we discussed single quotes, double quotes. Their purpose within the print statement allows you to print strings as long as it's encapsulated in a pair of either single or double quotes. Now, there's a triple quote, which is for multi-line string. I'm going to cut and paste this over here. So, the minute you type print, your parentheses and your first single or triple single quotes, and then your first string right here, you can just keep typing. You just hit enter, new line. Gotta spell it right. New line, next line, second line, etc. Right? And when you close your triple quotes and then follow it with the closing parenthesis and hit enter, you're able to print out multi-lines. Handy. We could couple this in with a couple things we're going to cover later on in this video to add new lines or tabs to give it the appearance of a well-crafted comment or well-crafted message to the user as opposed to just printing single lines all at one time. So it's handy and we will use it. And we're going to move right along to the dir command. So if you do help on dir, you'll see that if called out with an argument, and the argument being next we're going to run print, in this case it was dir, but we're going to run dir with print here next, and it's going to return the items in the current scope, or the names of the current scope, right? So if we do a dir on the print command and hit enter, we see all these double underscores, something double underscores. These are called dunders, dunder call, dunder class, dunder format, etc. And we'll cover more about that as the class progresses. But what I want you to take a good look at is that dir is similar to the dir command in a normal shell in Windows. It lists the current directory or an ls. It shows you where that current function resides and where it could reach. So we'll get more into that, but I wanted to cover the dir command because dir tied with help kind of aligns your thought process on how to use a new command when you first come by it. So without further ado, let's move right on to escape sequences. So there's times when you want to print something, and when you use single quotes, we'll use this one as an example right here, that you go to print this and you'll see you'll get an end of line error. The parenthesis isn't closed. It has a bunch of single quotes. An easy way to do that would just be double quote it, right? In the beginning, at the end, it has a single quote, trailing parenthesis turns black, works like a champ. Now, there's another trick that you could leave it all single quotes, but if you see the first single quote, that's a pair, and then this is just strings added that are not encapsulated in any quote pair. So this one's actually waiting for something like this. But if we run this, you get an invalid syntax. So that necessarily didn't work, right? But you could toss in an escape sequence. Python and a lot of other scripting languages uses the backslash as an escape sequence. So when I added that backslash to that second single quote, it basically told Python to negate the special meaning of that character and just escape it as a string. So now your leading and tailing single quotes are a pair, and this one lost its special meaning. So now print works as designed, and you have your single quote on what's. So that's handy. Let's take a look at this next one. So here is a another version that uses double quotes. And we escape the double quotes around hi, so it's like he said hi. So it's like a male saying hello. Awesome. Now if we remove those, remove the escape characters, you'll see that Python now thinks this is open and close, this is open and close, but you have strings in between, then you'll get an invalid syntax. So once again, once you start escaping characters that you want to drop their special meaning, works like a champ. And there'll be times when you want to escape certain things like a backslash, like maybe your output lists a directory, like a directory name, and you need a backslash to be printed. And backslashes have special meanings, which is an escape sequence, sometimes called negation. Here, print, this is a backslash. Then I have two backslashes. The first one tells Python to drop the special meaning of the next character, which is a backslash. So it'll just print 1. Awesome. So along with escaping, there's also some type of formatting you could do with the print command. And within print, there is a new line. Print function, open parentheses, single quote closure, line 1, space, backslash, and line 2. Let's take a look. Okay, perfect. Prints out line 1 and line 2. What I don't like is when you hover it, let's see if we could remove that space. What if we did this? Looks the same, right? Yep, same output. The idle still sees that hard return after line 1, which is that highlighted full line. So let's check this out again. So we're saying line 1, space, new line, print line 2 on the new line. So a backslash n is sort of like a hard return. Python treats it as a hard return. Awesome. Well, as opposed to new line, you also have a tab command. Helps you formulate columns for output, more visually pleasing, and you could do things like a double tab with a new line. You can combine all these methods too that we're learning too. So now it's a 2 tab instead of 1, and a tab within Python should be 4 spaces. This appears to be more than 4 spaces. But let's take another look at that. Boop, there you go. So let's move right along. Learning all kinds of fun stuff with print. So sometimes, like the note says, it's often helpful to start on a new line, but you want all the output to be on one line. And here you can use the escape sequence and hit enter. And I'll type this in. I'll say print my parentheses, line 1 period, space, backslash, enter. And then I'll say line 2 period, and my quote and the closing. And when I hit enter, check that out. So it allows me, this backslash allows me to hit return and continue typing. But when I hit print, it all comes out on one line. So let's take another look at this. So if I did this again, line 3, now you have line 1, 2, and 3. Awesome. So this is sometimes helpful if you have long sentences or run-on directions for a user or some type of program to line your thoughts on separate lines, but when you go to output them to be consumed by the user, they'll see them all on one line or a one-liner and a partial. So it's handy. We're right here. All right, moving right along. Grab some water. So there's times that you want to use raw strings, right? What's a raw string? Raw string, it basically tells Python to lose the type, the string, the integer, the things like that, and just treat anything within that follows the lowercase r as just a raw string, right? Even to include like escape characters, it treats them as just raw input. So let's take a look at that. So here's our leading lowercase r to tell Python to whatever follows the little r to be a raw string. And when I hit enter, you can see that our argument for \n new line is just treated as a string. And it prints to the screen without taking a new line. Cool. Right? Kind of handy. So just keep in mind that the print character for now always ends each statement with a new line. And that covers print and some of the arguments that print has available. And I'll see you soon, and we'll go over, I think, floats next and some integers.